Thank you, everybody, for watching Welcome, everybody, to the Slash or Smash podcast. I'm John, and these two are Matt and Tiffany. Hey, we did good, and I introduced them well.
Yeah, good job, John.
This season on our podcast, we are going through the top 12 ranked worst horror movies according to Rotten Tomatoes, and we are going to determine which one is, in fact, the worst movie.
Horror.
The worst horror movie. Sorry.
Horror.
Yeah, don't forget, we are staying in the horror genre.
We're trying to.
We're trying to. He has a fair point. Okay, so the battle today, and their rankings were all random. I put it in a randomizer and everything, so we ended up with One Missed Call versus Alone in the Dark for our first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to do a brief description of each movie for people who haven't seen them?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
If you would read just to kind of jog the juices, get the juices flowing, I would like to hear the synopsis.
Okay, so we opened up the night by watching with friends. Everybody's allowed to join us on Discord Watch Party, so if you didn't join us this time, feel free to join next. This is One Missed Call, our first movie, when Beth Raymond, played by Shannon Sosaman.
We don't need actors.
Witnesses... All right, I'll leave it up. Witnesses the deaths of two of friends. She knows there's more at work than just a tragic coincidence. Days before they die, both victims hear their terrifying final moments on cell phones. Though the police think Beth is crazy, Detective Jack Andrews believes her. Together, the pair try to unravel the mystery behind the horrifying messages before their own phone numbers come up.
Okay, yeah.
Matt, we can start with you. I know you have a plethora of things to say.
The characters themselves, nobody gives a fuck about them. Nobody cares. Rat's ass about it. The main character, for fuck's sake, until Tip told me it was Beth, I didn't give two fucking shits.
They said the name 17 times throughout the whole entire movie, and we caught like the last 5.
No, every single one of those people, I didn't give a shit if they died or not.
They didn't do any character developing.
None whatsoever. And, it did do some classic, setups, like somebody died right away in the beginning. That pulls your attention that, okay, this is going to be a horror movie. But at the end of the day, it got so convoluted that you really didn't understand the logic, nor did you give a fuck to.
I agree with a lot with what Matt said, pretty much. It did a really good job of giving off the effects of it being a horror movie. Mm-hmm. They did really good. The actual sound was pretty decent. Again, these were both, early 2000 movies?
One was 2008, one was 2005.
This one was the 2008, I want to say.
I really liked, it's not like they did a lot of details. A lot of their, monster-ish effects were very simple. If they were CGI, they were very good.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed with the story because I thought their setup was good. Like, oh my god, there's an entity that's controlling cell phones, that's jumping from number to number and killing people. Holy crap, what fucking striked this? What is the cause that this entity could not pass on and decided to just go fuck with people's lives? And then you get there and we're like, it doesn't wrap up good. The writing could have been much better. Much, much better. And that made... I'm a super huge story fanatic. I love watching movies for the story. I love playing video games for the story. It was set up good. They were in the process of making something, and then that ending just went, nah, lazy. We're just going to finish this off and be done. She just wanted to make people miserable, so that's why she is the way she is.
Well, not only that, but some way to defeat her other than the way it happened. It was absolutely fucking asinine.
I think the way that they ended it was because they were trying to leave it somewhat open for them to make another one. Because the way that it ended is you just hear the dial tone starting to ring again. She's just back in the phone, off doing what the fuck she did in the beginning of the movie. So it's there's no... What, is the mom gonna come and save everyone? No, because she missed the first 3 fucking people that died the first time.
This movie it lacked tension. I didn't get a lot of tense feelings watching this, which you kind of need.
I was just going to say, I also think that ties into a character development. If they would have developed the character, even if they just would have focused on Beth's character a little bit more, just to develop her a little bit more, probably would have pulled you in a little bit easier.
Well, they tried. They gave her that whole backstory where her mom burned her arms and her dad hung himself.
That only brought it back to the point that she was going to college for child abuse. Like, because she wanted to prevent it from happening to other people. Like, that's the only part that really tied in.
No, well, I think it was supposed to tie her to the main character. They were both abused. I mean, I thought the visual effects of this were decent. The established timeline was really bad. The character development was really bad. The CGI and makeup and stuff I thought was good. That corpse that was in the ductways that looked really good, I thought.
Yeah, that kind of gave me a little bit of a goosebump when we first saw it.
And if somebody watches this and says, oh no, they did establish the timeline, they had it in a newspaper in real fucking fine print. Okay, we didn't give a fuck to find out.
The acting was okay, I guess I'd say.
I feel like the detective was a little over the top.
I feel like that whole character fell flat. It could have been a cardboard box, and God, it would have been the same feeling.
The only thing that they tied him to this, aside from being a detective, is the fact that his sister was, like, one of the first people to die.
The way they tied the cell phone to the entity, I think was kind of dumb.
We don't even know for sure who she was calling. Was she calling the mom to try to get her to reopen the door, or was she calling someone who she thought would come help her?
Yeah. Again, a lot of stuff was set up but not established. What do you think was the weakest part of this movie? Matt, you can start.
I would say that the weakest part was just the characters were so forgettable that you really didn't care about them. They didn't lead up to much panic. A lot of people died before you really even knew about them. So there was that. I would also say there was creep factor. It had creep factor, but not much tension buildup. I think that this movie just harmed itself by going in a direction and a path that it made it all confusing and dumb.
Yeah. Tiff, what do you think? Weakest point?
I think the weakest point is literally it's the writing. If you would have come up with a cohesive story that tied everything together, even if the character development was little to none, I still would have forgave it because the story would have came together. Like, they were making this build up, and then so if they would have just had a cohesive story that tied all the little details in, tied everyone much better together, I think this movie would have been 10 times better.
And they tried doing something like that with all the visions that they were having and how it connected to the girl, but
it got too much.
It got convoluted. The logic fell apart. It completely fell apart.
It seemed like a really young writer that maybe kind of forgot some of the staples or necessary items that go into a story.
Don't bring age into this, all right? Age has nothing to do with it. It's really just your brain.
I'm not saying young like they are young. I meant more like they're new.
Inexperienced?
I'm sure that they had an idea and they had this story in their mind, but they can't produce that to other people. They can't explain it to other people very well.
Well, and that's the thing. You've also got a movie doesn't consist of, here's the writer, here's the story I want, now go do it. It goes through producers, it goes through the actors, and then the actors will start putting their 2 cents, and the producers will be stupid enough to say, let's trust the actor, and it
very well
everything.
Could have got ruined.
So maybe the writers of this did a really phenomenal job, and then when it got to production, everyone fucked it up. It's very possible.
Also valid. Did this movie have any redeeming factors? Would either of you say?
I really think that this movie did good with the ambiance. There was a lot of there was darkness involved. There was a lot of noises that they played on. They did good in keeping things creepy, and they didn't lose that very much.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I would say good scene selection for the most part.
They didn't really stall. Like, the movie started, there was a death, and they just kept going. Mm-hmm. Again, they didn't give enough they didn't give enough time for the story to keep up with it to where you knew, because you were like 3 or 4 deaths before you knew what the fuck, why they were dying and all that shit. You
could have cut out that whole fucking Exorcist scene and given those characters a little bit more detail into that whole story. You would have ended up with a Final Destination fucking ripoff, but I mean...
That probably would have been better.
I love the Exorcist thing. I thought it gave a lot of action to it and kind of got me a little bit more back into it, but again, it just fell flat immediately right after.
I feel that's because of that actor, though. I don't know what his name is, but I always enjoy him personally, the producer.
Oh, he was great. He was phenomenal. Oh, also, one last thing I just want to throw in. That first death at the beginning with the lady sitting at that...
In, like, the koi pond?
Yeah. Did not seem to fit with the rest of this movie in any way.
I thought it was going to lead back to their, like, there was a family discrepancy at that, the shrine.
Oh, yeah, me
place.
too.
Like, oh my God, it's all leading back to there, and someone drowned in the koi pond thing, and that's why they're all killing people. And
it went back to a bunch of shit that you didn't even see or hear about.
Yeah, it felt so out of place.
You guys killed a cat for no reason. You guys should burn in hell.
Yeah, that also actually doesn't make any fucking sense. Why would the entity kill a fucking cat? It doesn't make any sense.
Again, so misplaced.
But a bunch of stuff from our next movie doesn't make any sense either.
What a great segment, Matt. We'll start with Tiff this time. Tiff, thoughts on Alone in the Dark?
Do you want to go over the synopsis so people can be like, hey, that's what happened?
When the investigations of supernatural detective Edward Carnby led him to uncover a long-lost tribe called the Abscani, he finds out that they worship demons, like a bunch of assholes. These evil creatures are now attempting to resurface in the world, and Edward can stop them, but only with the help of A-Line, an archaeologist who also happens to be his old flame. With sinister forces attempting to take over Edward's mind, can he and A-Line stop them before it's too late?
I didn't... I'm a fan of Christian Slater, who's one of the actors in there, and he was very good. But I'm not a fan... This was not a horror. They stamped this movie as a horror movie, or put a tag of it on there, and the only horror I can connect is because there's blood and death. It was very sci-fi-y, and I don't have anything against sci-fi, but I'm also not huge into the sci-fi, so for me, it kind of, I checked out a little early. It just is... No.
This had a very good beginning. It actually did. I think that when we cut to the breaking the fourth wall, explaining what's going on, that was very nice. It was setting things up. People weren't lost. You weren't too confused about it. It was staging it for the events to come. And then all of a sudden everything just went out the fucking window with filler that didn't even make any goddamn sense. I don't understand why several scenes were in this movie. And I also don't understand how this, I agree, I don't understand how this is considered horror. I understand sci-fi horror though. So when we compare this to say Resident Evil, that is a horror movie and it's action packed. It is both.
Yeah, but the zombies are scary. These are not, the dogs are not scary.
And I don't disagree with that. There's no scare factor in this, and that's due to a piss poor, God, I hope a fucking piss poor budget or just piss poor imagination. And it stole ideas from literally everything under the fucking sun, from Resident Evil to Alien, to so many different fucking just god-awful things that you pull apart every other movie that has something good in it and you lump it all up into one big ball of fucking shit.
They took every good movie's crappy parts and put it into this film.
The way they wrapped it up was just as bad as the fucking missed call, if not worse. The concept of, I'm gonna blow this place sky high, and you don't, unless you have a fucking nuke, that cavern ain't going anywhere. It would have been better.
Yeah, no. It was this little bag that he had. That was the bomb for this catacomb that looked like it was fucking miles deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been better had you open that cavern up, and I wouldn't even have made it a cavern, nothing near what it would have been smaller for me. But you would have seen a creature that spawned these things That
Yes.
would have been
Like the
something.
mother kind of
Something like that.
thing of
Again,
Like
that.
the queen bee.
You'd
Like
be
the-
ripping
yeah, the
off
source
fucking
of it.
Alien. You'd be ripping off whatever. But at
They
least
already
then-
did.
Yeah, you already did. It was a ripoff. All around, you could follow it easy enough, but fuck, was it garbage.
It was. It was very forgettable. Easily forgettable. This seems like it was directed by a guy who did a Sci-Fi Channel movie. Like a movie that was strictly for the Sci-Fi
on
Channel.
Sci-Fi.
Yeah, it just... You find out at the end that these monsters got out and took over the whole city, but at nowhere in this film did you ever get that feeling.
Yeah.
So that was shocking to find out. And then, yeah, I agree. I actually think that they should have been like, oh man, if we release this curse, it actually infects people and they become zombie-esque. And then if you hold this trinket, you control them. But no, this dude was injecting DNA into his arm, and you didn't know why, and he never said why.
They never, ever, ever specified what controls these beasts. Like, they follow the doctor in a certain part, but then you didn't know why. Did he implant something in them? Is the DNA he injecting in himself? Like, do they listen to the alpha male kind of thing? Like, there was no clarity as to why these things did what they did.
Or you could have even had it where, like, that little trinket got smashed at the end, causing all the things to leave the bodies that they possessed. Or anything. Not this huge cave that could have housed an entire habitat being blown up by 20 pounds of C4 that the guy lit not even in the cave that they were blowing up.
No, it was like the entrance to their catacomb.
He jumped 6 feet away from and survived. So he was 6 feet away from the bomb that exploded and survived, but the bomb somehow killed hundreds of thousands of these beasts in this cave that you had to go through a door to get through. It doesn't make any sense. The writing for this movie actually is worse than One Missed Call.
Yes, it's fuck awful. They could have developed some sort of gas or something that would eliminate those. Like, they could have
anything.
They could have discovered that the doctor was housing the one and brought that back for sampling. There's a lot of different things that they could have done with this, and they just said, "Fuck it, let's make a shit movie and let's just rip off everything that we know is good."
I don't expect movies to follow legit logic, like, action-packed movies, a plane crash. Or the way I don't expect actual physics, but what I do expect is when you have this little fucking backpack bomb into this huge catacomb, all your viewers know that those fuckers aren't dead, okay? Don't...
Yeah.
Or if you're gonna do that, specify what it is.
Or better yet, I would have been so okay if they would have, like, shown back in the catacombs that doorway, maybe a quarter of a mile around that opening, was on fire.
Because when I think of a small explosion doing massive amounts of damage, I immediately think of Starship Troopers and the nukes that they have. And that, like, at least though they did a good job explaining what the fuck this is. And they did show a pretty damn good explosion, I think.
I thought it was really stupid that they, like, leave the lab, walk like 30 feet, go up a ladder, and they're right by the fucking orphanage.
Yeah, also I thought it was really stupid that they already said there's no other way to get the fuck out. That's why they were going to open the fucking door, and then somehow this old geezer gets down here, and which, by the way, was not the same fucking way they left, because it was locked from the outside, so explain that shit.
Do you guys remember how even that soldier was able to open that fucking door? Like, all I saw him do was go to his knees, rub his hands on the ground surface, and the next thing you know, you see it go down.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Did you guys see how that opened?
I assume he flipped a switch. There you go.
It was horrible. It was like somebody had a great imagination, like, oh, what if we did this? And they're like, okay, how do we move on to the next part? And they're like,
I don't know, just say this.
We don't. We just move on. We don't explain anything.
Next scene.
Like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's 100% how it is. And it seems like the only draw they could have got off this movie was from Tara Reid, Christian Slater, Stephen Dorff. This now makes 2 Stephen Dorff movies that are terrible back-to-back for us. So, also, would you like to know... Actually, let's play a little game called Matt and Tiffany Guess the Budget of Each Movie. Let's start with one missed call.
I was going to say,
Matt?
Okay.
What do you think it is?
This is the 2008 one, right?
This one is, yes, 2008.
I'm going to go with 1 million. 1.5 million. Let's go with that.
For one missed call. Okay, Tiffany?
I'm going to go 2 million.
Wow. It is $20 million.
What the fuck?
Oh, that's true. I mean, we're not in the 80s anymore. We were watching a lot of 80s.
All right. What is the budget for Alone in the Dark?
I know what I want to say.
Slater is in here. We got Reed. I'm going to go 35 million.
I'm gonna go just 15 mil.
Matt would win that one. It was 20. Same thing.
Wow.
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Same budget, 3-year difference, and one missed call did not have that many well-known actors.
Like, early CGI must have been super fucking expensive, or whatever the fuck they're using.
Oh, yes.
I do believe it was expensive, yeah. But
and
again,
it's not good.
One missed call did it better. And that's even, again, I don't even know if one missed call did CGI. That might have all been fucking makeup and props.
Not all of it. You could definitely tell some of it was.
In all fairness, I feel like Tara Reid would have worked for a sandwich at the time. Probably just she just came off like Sharknado. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like she was on top of the world.
What were some redeeming qualities on the Alone in the Dark? I'm gonna say I appreciate the explanations they did, like you said, the noir detective like fourth wall break. I liked that going into
the 3 times they did it.
Yeah, I liked it in the beginning. I loved the music video action scene. I loved that. I thought it was hilarious.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie
to bring that up.
I'm not gonna
lie.
That
was top notch.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing. I don't know about you guys, but at that point in the movie, I was kind of like, and so when I looked down, I'm like, are we watching Doom?
So for people who may not have seen this, at about halfway, they encounter a couple of these creatures and a bunch of the zombie people, and all of a sudden, how would you describe this?
It literally went from, we gotta get out of here, to the next thing I remember, people were shooting, and the next thing I know, it's like CGI video game. You're seeing people shooting guns, that's all dark, you've got the light of the of the gunfire.
Somebody ate the fucking extreme Doritos and just said, let's fucking do it.
Someone did a line at that time.
It went to hard rock, muzzle flashes, action out the ass.
Oh, yeah.
It cranked it to fucking top gear real quick.
And I fucking loved it.
They had the background music at like a nice 15% while you've got the story, people talking, happening to like, all of a sudden they cranked that music up to 110% as shit just went down.
I had more fun with the second one. Granted, very forgettable. Not a movie you ever need to see. You can probably catch it on Sci-Fi at like 3 a.m. anytime you want. I
think that's what makes that hard to kind of compare, because One Missed Call is more of that. It's on the lower end. You're just kind of thrilling it through. They're kind of keeping you along. Here's the story. It's not an action movie. The second one, Alone in the Dark, is an action movie. It's going to grip you, and it's going to get your attention more. Yeah, but again, like, horror movies have done action. Like I said, like Resident Evil was able to do it. So it's not that they can't. I think this movie was way more fun. The writing was shit. It had a lot of action. There was a movie before this one called The Relic, which is very similar to this one. I also got kind of The Gate vibes from this, and I know we are not a huge fan of that, which means probably a lot of other people are for whatever reason. And, I mean, you had the nostalgia of watching Christian Slater and Tara Reid and Stephen Dorff. You had that with some action and stuff, and I guess you really didn't have to do a good job. I'm not gonna lie, everyone loves Tara Reid. I'm okay with Slater and Dorff. She's a horrible actor. I'm sorry, we have to say this. Terrible actor. She conveys zero emotion. She was Kristen Stewart before she did Twilight. Yes. Yeah. Also, at one point in this movie, the zombies all look like the fucking Cullen clan. It was almost like we're too lazy to do it, but we want to make them look like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now that I would accept. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I will accept that one.
But we're too lazy to do a good job, so just fucking paint them yellow or paint them white and fucking draw like in permanent marker some lines on it for them.
That's exactly it.
Put some of that off-white, bluish tinted stuff to tint their skin, that's fine.
Yeah.
Which movie do you think was the worst movie?
Alone in the Dark.
I actually disagree. I do disagree. I think One Missed Call was actually the worst movie.
So that means Matt is the tiebreaker.
I gotta back up the question again. Worst movie or worst horror movie?
It's horror versus sci-fi horror. So technically they're both horror.
Yes, Matt, we are doing the worst horror movie bracketeering, but we didn't realize that the Alone in the Dark wasn't necessarily horror.
Alone in the Dark is worse. And I'm gonna say why Alone in the Dark is worse is because at least with One Missed Call, it did develop the creep factor. And it did develop, there were some jump scares that are in there, and it had some good scenes in it and everything. It fucking, honestly, it looked like with Alone in the Dark, it looked like it was fucking made on a farm, that you had a farmhouse that you called an orphanage. You had fucking, what was it, Tony's repair shop just on the other acreage right next door. And that was fucking it. One Missed Call developed a better creep factor. And that's the only reason. Did I enjoy Alone in the Dark better? Yes. But as a horror movie, like, and I'm not saying that it's not a horror movie, because you can have sci-fi action horror movies.
I think Alien is a horror movie.
If we're judging it strictly on the sense of which was the better horror movie, One Missed Call was the better horror movie. If you ask me what's the better movie, I'm going to tell you Alone in the Dark, because I thought it was fucking hilarious at times.
Our bracket is the worst horror movie. So hopefully we'll actually come across a horror movie that can butt Alone in the Dark out, but until then...
That's fair. I mean, Alone in the Dark had so many scenes that were unnecessary to the movie, really to the story, to the plot, to anything.
And they could have been, too.
I think they all thought it was trying to allude to that horror because people are dying. Oh my god, this guy got slaughtered by two of them that cornered him. Oh my god, horror. No, it's not horror.
Case in point, a missed opportunity. They focus so much attention on some of these guys that are dying up top. They could have been a crucial part of those guys getting the fuck out of that dungeon or wherever the fuck it was. They could have been a huge, important part to it.
Yeah.
That would have changed everything.
Yeah.
Now them dying has consequences because they can't get them out of the pit or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything like that would have made that worthwhile. But if followed these two people like go into this barn, you probably followed them for 10, 15 minutes and then they just get killed with shitty looking CGI.
Yeah. That was bad.
No repercussion from it. It doesn't change anything about the movie.
And see, I thought they were going to do that with that Turner guy fixing the generator. I was like, oh, they're going to turn the lights on right at a pivotal moment before those guys underground died or some shit like that. Like, that's what I thought was going to happen. But no, he just explodes because they got attacked.
He explodes 50 feet from this entire, military
this
squad.
Platoon, yeah.
Nobody reacts. Nobody does anything. Nobody even goes, huh.
Turner just needs to fix that fucking Jenny.
Right?
What the fuck?
Oh.
Also, I think I know what the fuck. I think I might have answered this, but if you recall, before that battle scene, before that blew up, there was a fucking gunshot. And they made it sure to point it out. They said it over the radios, it was a misfire. Do not engage, do not engage. I'm pretty sure that was the fucking morgue dude that was doing that dissection that had turned. Pretty sure that was him taking out a guard to try and get to the Jenny and then blow it up.
Oh, that's possible, but they never made that connection.
They never made that connection. Like, it was so distant. Again, another missed opportunity to show how he actually got back there.
Yeah, I had more fun with Alone in the Dark. Because I thought One Missed Call was relatively boring. Both had piss poor writing. Again, One Missed Call had the more of a horror feel and essence to it, but yeah, I'm not going to fight you guys. If we want to keep Alone in the Dark in here as the worst movie.
That's good, because you're fucking outvoted, so fuck you, John.
There's 3 of us, so we'll never have an actual tie. So 2-3, whatever the decision will be.
Tip?
I'm explaining it for John because apparently he doesn't fucking know how it's working.
I'm the host, all right? I count as 2.
You get 1.5 max.
I am 1.5 at max. Well, everybody, there you go. We got our answer. Alone in the Dark is the worst of these 2 movies, so they'll continue to move on to the bracket. Good luck. Good job to One Missed Call for being slightly better enough to get off of this fucking bracket.
Oh,
Well,
God.
and again, I feel like this is not going to be the only episode where we have to take in consideration one is actually a horror versus one is not quite a horror, so we're gonna have to weigh that shit out.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that when I went into Rotten Tomatoes list, but yeah, I'll have to double check some of these.
But it's from their list, right?
Yeah,
So
so, I
they
mean, that's-
so either the producers and directors had a horror label on this, or Rotten Tomatoes threw one on there. Like, it's listed to our resources as a horror. So someone further up the line fucked up.
We're just the messengers. Don't kill us.
We're just the measly critics, all right?
We're just the white podcasters with glasses. Try not to judge us.
And I'm just some guy they found on the street.
Yeah, we found him.
Also true. Spayed and neutered, just in case. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening, and give us your thoughts down below on what you think about each movie, and I can't imagine they're going to be good.
And stay tuned next month for our next one!
I'm sure it's going to be another humdinger.
Oh, for
great.
fuck's sake.
Grab your popcorn, everybody!
Y'all have a great night.
Thanks!
Bye-bye.
Bye!